Hey guys, Ken May here to tell you today about contact tracing and what that means for our privacy. So, some countries like South Korea have found some success by using contact tracing to cut down on the amount of COVID-19 infections that have been happening in their country. So, contact tracing basically means a method of finding out who you've come into contact with. So, if I go to a coffee shop and I talk to somebody in line, or if I go see a family member, or if I go to work and bump into people, it turns out that later I come down with the virus, people want to know who have I been in contact with so we can figure out if they've been exposed as well. So, technology to the rescue. In the past, we used to use phone interviews to actually write down on a piece of paper who you think you may have crossed paths with, but that's not very effective and can take a long time, and memory is not so great, right? So, Apple and Google have come together with some ideas, and some other technology companies have put together some ideas. And it basically works like this: your phone will use Bluetooth to generate some secure codes that don't have your name on them or your location or anything else like that. And other phones will do the same thing. And as you come into close contact with somebody from time to time, they're able to share those codes back and forth. So eventually your phone builds up a little database of all just these lists of random codes that it's talked to over the past period of time. Again, the idea is that there's no actual personally identifiable information in there. However, if you eventually come down with the virus, then your phone would get some kind of an alert on it that you are infected and theoretically pass it out to a network so that that way other phones would be able to say, hey, if you've exchanged these codes over a period of time, you might be exposed as well and you should quarantine. So it sounds good in theory, but it also breaks down into one of two major different methods that they're thinking about doing this: centralized or decentralized. Centralized would be that we have some sort of a web app, some sort of a central server that's collecting all this information. And the benefits of that would be that hospitals and governments would be able to tie into it so they could more accurately be figuring out who may have been infected or how many people, or ensuring that the alerts are going out to the right people. Of course, that raises a lot of privacy concerns because maybe we don't want the government to have some idea of where we've been. There's supposed to be a lot of protections in there to protect our privacy, but I'm not sure how much I trust a lot of that. I've looked at some of the different proposals out there, and some of them look decent, but I mean, we have to take their word for it to some extent. A decentralized method would be no sort of central server. Every phone just keeps its own database. And so they just transmit information only when you're back and forth with different people. There'd still have to be some sort of a method of getting information out to the individual phones to let them know if you've come into contact with someone. So maybe once you have been diagnosed, you would go into a hospital or something, and they would push just your phone codes up to a server, and then your phone would grab those. So it's slightly centralized. Otherwise, outside of that, there'd be not really an efficient method of being able to get the codes back and forth to know if you've come into contact with someone who has been infected. So sorry if that sounds a little complicated, because it is a little complicated. I'll provide a link in this post to a nice little comic that sort of explains things pretty well. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at swiftchipinc.com. Have a great day.